Well, Shemai everyone, how are you all? A huge welcome to all my new subscribers, and because I have been so lucky in having so many new subscribers, I thought I'd better introduce myself. So my name is Nikki Richards of Nikki Nags Paper Crafts. I'm a hobby Stampin' Up demo and I love all kinds of paper crafting. I'm a school teacher. Currently at the moment I'm not able to be in work because of the lockdown, and as an asthmatic I'm not allowed to go to any of the hub schools, so I'm busy learning all about online teaching and doing lots and lots of YouTube videos for my children. As you can tell by my accent, I am Welsh. Then again, if you are from America you might not recognise my accent. So I actually live in the South Wales valleys. I can speak Welsh as well, and I love living in such a beautiful place. As I say, I love paper crafting and I love to share my joy of paper crafting with others. So there's my little spiel over with. What are we doing today? Now, the last few times I have shared some quite intricate card designs, but sometimes you just need a card in a little bit of a hurry. So when I'm sort of stuck for inspiration and I quickly need a card, I often use sketches. So I've gone onto Pinterest. I love Pinterest. Pinterest is like another hobby, I think, and I share and save so many pins, but sometimes I don't always use them. So I've got lots and lots of boards on there for card making, for scrapbooking, for cake making, for Slimming World, which is slightly at odds with my cake making. And every now and again I think, right then, let's get a sketch out to try. So this is the sketch I'm working with, and these are the two cards I've made so far. So I created my own pattern paper on this one using the Painted Harvest, which is sadly retiring. So if you want it and you haven't got it, this is your last chance. So I used this one and I made this card. So as you can see, this is at the bottom of the card. I think a sketch is more like a recipe, and sometimes you haven't got all the ingredients, you switch things around. So that's based on this, but I've just made a couple of changes. This one I've based on it entirely, apart from the fact that I've got that on the other side. This is using the lovely painted poppies. But I think I've said a few times lately, I'm on a bit of a mission. I've made a deal with myself. Every time I make female cards, because I love creating cards for women. I'm just trying to shut my blind now so oh, that's too dark now. It's so tricky when this lovely sunshine is sort of coming in my attic window. I have decided that every time I create a card for women, I have to create a card suitable to send to a man. Because I don't know about you, but I find men's cards a little bit of a struggle. And I was moaning about it one day to my husband, and he looked so hurt, and he said, well, that's not our fault, is it, that women can't seem to come up with ideas for us? So I thought, right, okay then, you just laid on the gauntlet. So I am going to use this set, Mountain Air, and I had it, I've had it a few months now, and it's only recently I've actually used it to make anything, because sometimes you lack inspiration with them. And I've used the dies, the Majestic Mountain dies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a landscape card using this design, and I'm going to have this as like a big image and then slice it. So I am using pre-bought and scored 5x7 cards. When I'm just doing a normal card without any moving parts, etc., I just tend to stick to these because I find them much less time consuming than making my own. And I buy these from a company in Britain called Craft Creations, and they have used to have an incredible deal on that. If you bought 500 of them, you'd have them all at half price. So I tended to buy 500, and then myself and my friends would go in shares. So that's my card base. So I'm going to put that to one side before I put ink on it. And I've created some little masks for myself. And as you can see, this is very, very expensive stuff. It's 3 post-it notes stuck together, because I've been looking at the masking paper, and it's really expensive, so I just do my own thing, and I've stuck it together with washi tape. So I'm going to use those in a second. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to stamp my mountains, and I'm going to use soft suede. So there's the mountains. This is a really clever set because you can either use it with the detail or with the just the outline. I'm not sure if it works that you can switch them then and add the detail onto it. I haven't tried that yet. So I'm going to use soft suede for my mountains. Oh, I'm really struggling here with my light. Let me see if I turn my light on. Is that any better? Oh yes, I'll stick with that. So I'm probably the only person in the street now with my lights on. So I'm going to stamp my mountains, and I want them to start off my card. I'm going to stamp it down, and I'm going to go probably about a third of the way down. No, I might do it a bit higher, because otherwise... no, sorry, look at me being daft. I'm thinking if I was doing it the other way down. Just ignore me, just talk amongst yourselves. Here we go, here I go with another one. So it looks like my mountain ranges are going off the page. Then I'm going to I'm just currently wipe them over with a baby wipe, but then I'll give them a proper clean after using my my stamping cleaner. So there's my mountain ranges. Now I'm going to bring in my mask because I want to do a little bit of a dark sky. So I'm just going to stick my mask over the top. But I also need my moon in here now. So I'm going to stick my moon up here, but it's just going off the top again. And I'm going to use one of these brushes. Now you can spend a fortune on these brushes. I think they're called something like life-changing brushes. Or you can do what I did, and you can buy a set off Amazon, and they are lovely to ink with. So I'm going to concentrate obviously on this side first. So I just brush it over, and I'm using Native Navy because, as I say, I want it as a darker scene. There we go. So as you can see, I'm just holding my homemade mask on there. I'm going to move that across then and line it back up with this lot of mountain ranges. But first I'm going to have to do, it's a bit like, this is a little bit like doing a jigsaw. I have to just do in this corner first. So just keep the brush moving. I didn't do a great job there because I've got a bit of a big blob, but I'm sure it'll all turn out well in the end. So there we go. So there's, I've just gone over the top of my moon as well. And then I'll put that to one side. I always keep these in. I always put these back in my stamp cases because they are really useful. The sun is going in and out today, so that's why I'm struggling. I'm going to take my little moon off then, like this. Now you could leave it like that, but I'm going to add it. I'm going to stamp it in smoky slate. There we go. And I actually used my 1-inch circle punch to punch that out. What I'm going to do then, I'm just going to add a little bit of ink over the top of it using one of my daubers. And what I do, I label my little daubers up with their names. I do find that these from Stampin' Up are quite expensive. I bought this set from Craftelia, and I think I only paid about £10 for the entire set. Sometimes I'd rather buy the pretty stamps and keep my money for that than to buy the sundries. I try to get those at a cheaper place. There we go. So there's my moon created then. So then I'm going to stamp some trees, like a tree line then across it. I'm going to bring in my old olive, and this is quite a long stamp, so I tend to turn it over and take the ink pad to the stamp. Using for photopolymer, you want something a little bit spongier underneath, so I'm using my grid paper, or if I'm not using grid paper, I use like a big foam mat. like that. Oh, I better get some more over there. I'm going to go off the end slightly. There we go. Then I'm going to do that again, but I think this time, because they're a little bit closer, I'm going to use Mossy Meadow. I'm just going to get my old olive off and stamp any. I'm going to use Mossy Meadow, but I'm going to stamp off once. There we are. Stamp it off once. And then stamp it down again. Didn't look, I haven't done a great job there. Oh, nearly forgot. There we go. Then I'm going to use another stamp set, which is a bit of a scene builder, which is Waterfront. I think this one is still in the catalogue as well, Waterfront. And I wanted some of the water. And I think I actually used the wrong one there. Lucky I checked then. So I'm going to put the two watery type pieces on together and then stamp the water on. There. And once again I'm going to use Night of Navy. I'm going to see whether I need to stamp it off slightly first. Let me see what it looks like. No, it's quite nice actually. I think my Night of Navy needs a little bit of re-inking, which means I'm not getting a really dark sort of stamp from it. So what I'm going to do then, as you can see, I've got these sections here. I'm going to just keep moving my stamp down and turn it around and just fill in all these sections. And then what I'll do then is add ink to the rest. Just do some blending then. This looks like such a tranquil sort of place to visit, I think. Even though I live in the Welsh Valleys, the mountains aren't quite like this. The first time I used this set was to a friend of ours had been very, very poorly in hospital with coronavirus, and he was an absolute fighter, and against all odds he beat it and came home, which is amazing. So I gave him a welcome home card using it. So I'm just going to use my brush as well, just to fill in these spaces. Just like this. This is such an easy brush to blend with, because I sometimes find the daubers, they're quite, I don't always find the daubers have enough sort of strength behind them to do really intricate sort of blending. So there is my scene so far. So now I'm going to slice it up. So my card is actually 6 by 5, so I'm going to slice it into 3 lots of 2. So it's going to, each piece is going to be 2 inches. As usual, I ended up using my scoring blade first by accident, because that's quite a common thing. So then I've got 3 pieces of the scene, and I'm going to mount that then on some cardstock like that. There we go. And I'm going to use, got a piece of Mossy Meadow. I'm going to check, see what it looks like on there. This is an offcut, as you can see. I try to use my offcuts before I start a new piece of card. Will it fit? Just about. Now then, my little tip for this. I would use Tombow to make sure you can get all your pieces straight. I tried it with my ATG gun and ruined a piece of card because I didn't have a straight edge on it. And there's no, you don't get, there's not very forgiving ATG. There we go. Try not to add too much glue because it can make your image warp a little bit. So yeah, I must be honest, I've got quite a lot of men's cards now in my stash. And I've got a few birthdays coming up, so at least I'll be prepared. I'm trying to sort of build up my card stash at the moment, because with us building a house and the next few months, once we get inside the house, once we've built the shell of the house, it'll get busier and busier. So I'll probably have less time for crafting. So I'm just keeping a very slim border around it. For this sort of thing, I love my very old Staples rotary cutter. So there we go. That's what it looks like there. And I think I'm going to layer it again on some crumb cake. This time I'll use ATG. So as you can see, using one sketch, I've made 3 very different types of cards. So I would recommend, if you're struggling for mojo, and up until recently I was really struggling for mojo. Even though I had all this time on my hands, I don't know, I didn't feel like getting in my craft room. I think it's because at one point I just couldn't switch off from the news, and I was watching it and getting more and more depressed, and in the end you think, right, the news will still be there after you've gone and done something different. So there's my card front. I'm now going to stick that on my card base. There we go. Like that. Make sure now I stick it straight. Apologies if my head comes into view. I'm currently looking like crystal tips, and I desperately need to have my hair coloured. So I'm going to put my sentiment across here. This is a really old stamp set. It's a celebration one. Happy birthday. As I say, I like to use my old stuff as well. Otherwise, there's no point of taking up space in your craft room. I'm going to put that across the front there. And then from the set, I've got 2 of these trees. I'm going to bring them down here a little bit so that it doesn't look like they're sort of growing in the water. So I've put foam pads on these. And as you can see, when I stamped it and cut it, I just missed the edge of my trees. But I'm going to put my other tree then to cover that. Like this. So it'll sort of just cover along it. And there we go. So that's using Mountain Air. That's one card. Then this one, Painted Harvest. So once again, I created my own designer series paper for this one here, and then just sliced it. If you are making your own designer paper, or when you cut any other designer paper, make sure you keep your strips in the same place, because otherwise your patterns are not going to line up again. Then I use this one here with painted poppies, and then this one here. So 2 ladies cards and a man's card. Thank you so much for joining me. As I say, huge welcome to all my new subscribers. It really does make my day. So I'm going to bid you Hwyl Fawr, which is, in Welsh means, it was a bit like cheerio, I suppose. Hwyl Fawr is big fun, really. So big fun to you all. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Hwyl Fawr.